frontier is defined as uncharted territory.
It basically got out of its natural balance.
By land or ocean. Those who chart that territory tell a story. The past illustrates the blueprint for the present, how things are and how they've evolved. From land to water, we are challenged to border that new frontier, a frontier the outdoorsman knows like no other. Author Gary Lewis works his way along that edge of where discoveries, failures, and achievements have written the story of the sportsman. From state to state, continent to continent, the stories told create the foundation of the present, and they lay the framework for the future. Through the muzzle fire and on the stone are stories from the edge.
Water is the most important thing as far as Indians are concerned, 'cause that's life.
The past is written, the present is here, and this is Frontier Unlimited.
With strategic management, sort of through helicopters and hunting, you can pick off the oldest of animals.
Most of this country is only accessible by helicopter or multi-day mountaineering treks.
You've got to locate and put down, so it's pretty much undescribable.
Come around now.
Look at the cape on him.
Yes.
I saw him.
I've been hunting since I was about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old, maybe, perhaps.
One at the back, isn't it? Yeah, I think so. He's done a runner. That one there's the one we want.
Just to me, New Zealand is home. That one's a squirrel, and then the other one down the shed's a 500. So I always have to talk to Harvey when he comes over.
He wants to do.
Yeah. I was born here, I grew up here, and I was just lucky enough that before my time, Dad had done enough, you know, and he had a really nice place that we were lucky enough to grow up in.
It's impossible to describe.
It's a hard one for people to be able to wrap their minds around. I think you guys in the States, you know, you're not allowed to hunt even within 12 or 24 hours if you've been in a plane or a helicopter. So you guys are, the difference is that you guys have got a lot of predators in the States. So the animals are, you're not the only hunter, you know, and they sort of help manage the numbers and the old food chain. Here in New Zealand we don't have predators, so any animal is able to breed out of control and pretty much eat themselves out to the point where there's, you know, not just so much, also the main factor is that they're eating and browsing what we refer to as our flora.
I've been farming for a long time. I was basically a high country farmer. We had a lot of animals on our property. Hunted them a long time we have to hunt them here to control the numbers because we don't have any predators, so they do very, very well. Sort of should be semi-retired, but no, I'm hunting. I'm sort of hunting guiding now, really. It's quite unique here because initially New Zealand had no grazing animals at all. It was only birds that were here. And the deer and the game animals were really introduced around 1900, 1880, 1900 era. By 1920, 1930, The numbers of deer especially had sort of got out of control because it's a really good environment for them to live and breed in because there's lots of feed. Winters aren't that tough, so they do really well.
So we just pulled up here. We're just going to run through a bit of safety stuff with the helicopter for a helicopter-assisted hunt for a tahr and chamois. So we'll get everyone together and go through a bit of safety stuff. But we'll run away. I think we'll head probably to the west coast, which is not far from here, up through the Haas Pass, and to a couple of spots up around there and see what we can find. So helicopters are a very vital part of looking after these animals. They need to be managed. We don't have mountain lions or wolves keeping the numbers down, and the recreational hunter can't keep up with it. But there's so many of them there that they would outbreed an amount that you'd shoot. If it got to that point, the government will either use taxpayers' money and fund helicopters and government workers, which are also being paid by taxpayers' money, to fly around, and they will shoot and destroy the animals. They're culling, so they'll kill them and they'll leave them there on the hill. There's not, like where these animals are, there's no pigs really. In fact, well, there's not. And we don't have mountain lions or wolves or anything to feed off them either, so those animals are shot, left there, wasted, rotted on the side of the hill. When it all happens, you guys are going to be in the back seat of the helicopter in here, okay?
That's fine.
So I'll be getting out of here. I'll open this door for you, and once I've got the door open, that's when you can undo your seatbelt, okay? So the seatbelt's just the same as an airplane. Lift the flap and it will come apart, okay?
Let's do it.
Mic check.
Strategic management, sort of through helicopters and hunting, you can pick off the oldest of animals.
Most of this country is only accessible by helicopter or multi-day mountaineering treks. This was Gary Lewis's third time hunting in New Zealand. This time he wanted to explore an interesting conservation story about alpine tahr and chamois on the South Island.
If we're not hunting them enough, if we're not keeping those numbers where they need to be, and they start destroying the plant life up there, then they will just tell them to look after that. So, and that's one way that they'll do it. If it got out of hand where even that would be, it starts getting to the flying around and shooting them with a helicopter, if that gets to a point where it'd be more efficient for them to poison them, and then they will fly around and they will poison them and kill them that way.
A Harley would be nice.
That would be great.
Decent. There's one.
You can't target with poison, you can't target one certain species or an age group or anything. So with the strategic management sort of through helicopters and hunting, you can pick off the oldest of animals, which are what you guys come out here to shoot. You know, they're the trophies, they're big, and that's what you're after. And the meat comes home, you're taking the oldest ones off, but you're still keeping that number steady. They're not getting out of control.
The big one's just up there.
Yeah, no, it's not going to be, it's not a goer. If they've been out of here, we get them down in there.
Yeah.
No, they're good bulls though.
Most of this country is only accessible by helicopter or multi-day mountaineering treks across some of the steepest faces in New Zealand.
Great.
Decent. There's one.
Where do you run to?
Sitting down. He's just drawn in under a rock.
Me?
Yep. This big rock face coming around. Yeah, we're coming around the top. Just running there.
The first mistake we make is bringing our biases and preconceived notions. In New Zealand, the land is young and new, risen from the sea.
Right there.
Yeah, the other one's out. Get up in a room. You want that big sucker that doesn't want to run because he's too fat.
Yeah.
You are so close to those rock walls that inside, I just know that the prop on the propeller on the helicopter is going to hit, so that you're nervous as can be. Locate and put down, so it's pretty much undescribable.
Come around now.
Look at the cape on him.
Yes, he's beautiful.
Just to me, New Zealand is home.
This was Gary Lewis's third time hunting in New Zealand. This time he wanted to explore an interesting conservation story about alpine tar and chamois, observing Lynn Hawker of Montana zero in on the Himalayan tar.
You're flying along and kind of level, and the next thing you know, you're clear at a 90-degree pitch coming around, boom, and you are so close to those rock walls that inside, I just know that the prop on the propeller on the helicopter is going to hit, so that you're nervous as can be.
Is he coming around? No, he's just up on... yeah, he's coming. Yeah, here's him coming down now. Yep, there he is. Is he coming around though? He's coming around now. Get out and have a go at him.
And then you're also looking, trying to find this animal that they're going to throw you out on a little spot that you've got to locate and put down. So it's pretty much undescribable.
Every member in the helicopter searches the land below for movement. Once an animal is spotted, they determine if it's worth an intercept. In order to manage the number of wildlife, hunters have an opportunity to be at the forefront of conservation in a unique way.
He's a good bull, but he's not exceptional.
One at the back, isn't it?
Yeah, so he's done a runner. That one there's the one we want.
The front one?
Yeah.
Where is he?
He'll be up there, I'll bring him round. Now be quick. Go quick.
In and out.
Coming around now.
Lynn Hawker finds himself as he tries to zero in on the running tar on the slopes. It is no easy task.
Like I'm there.
The one Himalayan tar that wasn't targeted found its way down the mountain. The one Lynn connected with, a different story.
Man, that is like nothing else I've ever done.
No,
And I've been in helicopters before,
yeah,
but whoa.
this was not what I expected either. Mother bear.
Look at the cape on him.
Yes, he's beautiful.
How's that?
I'm
Whoa.
Speechless?
yes sir.
Well done. Well done, sir. Well done.
What a day. Please.
Pop, 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 pop. It was quite a rush. So I was out of the plane 3 times. This was the 4th time out. That was what was hard, is
Right.
they were non-stop moving. So
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I didn't bring my hat, man. I wouldn't have it much longer if I did.
All good? Result? Amazing place?
Well, you're gonna
Good people?
No, only a bunch of young bulls, but nothing takeable.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Beautiful. Look at that. Woo-hoo-hoo.
I'll get in there.
Is this my best side?
Here, the preservation of the land is a higher value than the wealth of its wild animals. That's why the government resorts to poisons and helicopters with shotgunners. And yet, there is a dialogue started with those that seek middle ground. We need to keep talking to each other. Hillary Cameron.
Well done.
That is one of the most incredible hunting experiences of my life, man.
Well, it definitely was not what I expected, but I'll tell you what, you can't get more of an adrenaline rush, you know, hopping out on those hillsides and...
It's amazing.
Wow.
I saw him.
I've been hunting since I was about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old, maybe, perhaps.
From a high country hunt for Tibetan tahr in the mountains,
Look at the cape on him. Yes.
John Blocker prepares for a more subtle hunt in the hills.
Coming to New Zealand has been a dream of mine for several years. And then I met Gary Lewis.
You can nod yes or no.
Okay.
That's the only way I know how to do it. See what we can do.
I found out through the grapevine that he has a tendency to come to New Zealand.
There's 3 different types of hunting in New Zealand. There's the free-range public land hunting, and there's free-range private land hunting, and then there's the pen-raised behind-the-fence hunt that can be pretty challenging too, but we're looking for a specific animal that is up on this high country outside of the fence.
Right down over in this creek.
Saw something over there moving one time.
Oh, wow.
There now he's turned sideways. Take a look at him now.
I saw him.
I've been hunting since I was about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old, maybe, perhaps, following along behind my dad. You know, it's very difficult to explain for the emotions that you can have when you're hunting.
We think the stag is in that little cut up there, probably right up next to the fence. There's a lot of females on this side of the fence, and that's why he's come down out of the high country.
I can shoot off your pack.
John Blocker of Bend, Oregon, is looking to connect with a red stag that's a good representative of the New Zealand deer.
What we're going to do, John, is we're going to sneak up this gully here. We'll try and stay low on it so we're away from all these other females that are over here.
Because you have a lot of physical activity, and you don't want to destroy that animal without making a good solid kill, and you want a complete miss. You don't want to wound it and let it run off, so you have to be very careful in what you do. You know, I don't know what makes a hunter want to hunt unless it just happens to be part of his DNA or whatever. You know, it's very difficult to explain.
Initially, New Zealand had no grazing animals at all. It was only birds that were here.
Really close to that spot, so he could be just over the top here.
Often, red stags make their way down from the high country, where there are plentiful hinds in the lower parts of the valley.
By 1920, 1930, the numbers of deer especially had sort of got out of control because it's a really good environment for them to live and breed in because it's lots of feed. And we started farming them in the early 70s, realised that they were a tremendous resource, and now we farm thousands of deer, red deer. Part of that is that we've also selected them intensively for antler growth for velvet production because we sell the velvet to overseas.
I think we're very close to this stag. He's probably laying down in the bracken.
Yeah, I'm still looking for the other stag that we spotted. The last time we seen him, he was just up in here. And he was heading this way, but he's vanished. There's a couple of other stags, but they're only youngsters, so I don't know, maybe he's held up in here, we just can't see him, so the wind's in our favour, we're not in any hurry. There's 2 or 3 stags over there, one's quite good, but it's not the one we're after. They don't know we're here, so we'll just be patient and see if he sticks his head out.
As the day continues in the valley floor, the stags start to move.
Straight ahead, and he's heading up in there between those 2. Straight on top of the big. See?
Oh yeah, got it.
That's it. Where? Straight in between those two trees. We take the depth.
The shots echo through the valley, carried by the wind that comes with the uncertainty of the shot's accuracy. Hogg quickly pursues. As he finds the trail, the stillness of the forest above adds no track or clue to the stag being hit.
I lose the tracks just out over here, so whether we try to duck out and go across the creek, I don't know.
It took us an hour or so to get up where we could get a decent shot, and I missed.
After reviewing the shot, it was determined that John had missed with his first shot and missed again with his second. The animal walked away unhit.
It's always part of hunting that somewhere or another you're going to miss something sooner or later. You just can't keep from it, and it's kind of a bad feeling. But then once you can realize that you did not connect and an animal's not wounded, you go on about your life and do something else.